Hello everyone, and welcome to another Red Raptor Writes. As I'm sure you know, or maybe have seen for yourself, the Venom movie is here. Yeah, cause someone thought that was a good idea. And the critical consensus has been mainly, well... I'm not gonna get too much into how I feel about it. Overall, I feel as though it had a lot of potential and was very entertaining at times, but was very unfinished. The screenplay felt like a first draft that wasn't proofread. The editing was sloppy, and the CGI needed a touch-up. But if the Venom movie was given more love and attention, it could have been something truly special. Although this video is titled In Defense of Venom, that's not the Venom I'm focused on. This is...
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
So, I could have just written a review or a rant about the new Venom, or complain about Venom from Spider-Man 3, but that's too easy. This is a lot more fun. With Tom Hardy's Venom out, it seems like everybody and their mothers went back to take a massive dump on Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3.
You remember him from the comic books, you kind of remember him from, I guess he was in Spider-Man 3.
It was very crushing to me to see a kind of wishy-washy portrayal of him in Spider-Man 3.
We're also gonna have the Venom symbiote in this movie. Oh, people love Venom. They sure do, sir, and he's gonna be in the movie for about 5 minutes.
In my opinion, yes, this is just my personal opinion, Spider-Man 3's Venom gets way too much hate that is, quite frankly, undeserved.
You serious?
Everybody seems to gloss over the actual things the movie did well, or at the very least, the good ideas that weren't executed as well as they could have been. So that's what I'm gonna do today. What did Sam Raimi get right with this iconic character he was forced to cram into his already awesome series? And what criticisms hold up about as well as the amazing movies? Oh my god! Let's dig this up. Probably the most tired argument against Topher Grace's Venom is how little screen time he got. That's mainly because Spider-Man 3 had 3 villains who had to compete for screen time as opposed to the 2 other films in the trilogy, which both only took on 1 villain each. Green Goblin in the original, Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2, and Harry was being built up to be the main villain for 3. Well, he was a villain, but not the villain, which was disappointing. With Harry as New Goblin and a shoehorned in yet very well performed Sandman, Venom got pushed back to the last 25 minutes of a 139-minute film. So yeah, die-hard Venom fans were disappointed by that. But why? Whenever anybody thinks of the classic Venom story, what do they think about? Well, you have the Venom symbiote crashing to New York, and by sheer coincidence, bonding with one of the handful of people with powers. Spider-Man gets a cool new black suit that makes him faster and stronger. No, I'm not making this up, but hey, at least he can still swim. He begins to act more like a jerk, the alien gets used as a drug metaphor, Peter ditches it, it goes to Eddie, he becomes the classic villain 90s kids fall in love with, attacks Peter's loved ones, and finally gets defeated with either fire or loud noises. The end. And before anyone mentions it, yes, I know that's the animated series version, and not the original Secret Wars. Shut up, no one cares. But as you can see, it's all there. Outside of the Carnage story, which was never even considered for the Raimi films, Spider-Man 3 has pretty much everything people want to see from Venom. It's all right there. There is literally nothing else to add that wouldn't feel like filler. Saying that Venom is only in the last 15 or so minutes, as many critics have, is flat out dishonest. The entire movie revolves around the symbiote and the rise of Venom. It's just in those last 25 minutes that Brock is actually monstering around, clawing people. And that's perfectly fine. We don't really need much more than that. Now, onto the next major complaint, Topher Grace. Okay, I'm not about to lie to all your faces and tell you that he was the perfect choice with perfect writing. No, I mean, just watch him.
Ooh, my spider sense is tingling. If you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, he's occasionally cringy and not in the wholesome, campy way, but his performance isn't that bad. It just isn't what audiences were expecting. Sam Raimi was just subverting expectations, as Rian Johnson would put it. I know a lot of people who wanted the super ripped jock with anger issues who somehow is a photographer instead of a pro wrestler Eddie Brock, but clearly Sam Raimi didn't go that route. He never does with his characters. He always has to add his silly spin on everything. When you look at Venom, what do you see? He's Spider-Man, but a monster. He's got the spider insignia on his chest, the large round eyes, and all the same abilities, but the classic Spidey is corrupted with black instead of the blue and red, teeth, and claws. All this sounds really obvious, but Raimi took this idea and ran with it. Not only was Venom the monstrous version of Spider-Man, but Eddie is the corrupted Peter. Think about it. Eddie is a young, up-and-coming photographer in New York who's really awkward and has a girl he wants to start a life with. But where Peter is polite and humble, Eddie is flashy and self-centered. Where Peter is honest, Eddie is devious, doing whatever it takes to get ahead. Peter's a good boyfriend to MJ. Eddie acts like a player. Peter struggles to balance his life and accepts the responsibilities of being Spider-Man. Eddie is an entitled millennial who thinks he can take whatever he wants without any consequences and doesn't understand why nobody likes him. Although the two are polar opposites, Peter becomes more and more like Eddie as the film progresses, and he's influenced by the symbiote. He mistreats the women, throws tantrums, tries to be cool while failing so hard, and wears black. By the end of the second act, Peter is no better of a person than Eddie, but he realizes the error of his ways and seeks redemption. Eddie, on the other hand, never repents. He continues further down his dastardly ways and gets consumed by hatred, which this movie uses the Venom symbiote to represent. This is a dichotomy that you simply cannot have if Eddie wasn't the Eddie we got. Yes, occasionally both become too cringy, like we didn't need a second dance scene or to see Venom cry. So the execution definitely wasn't perfect, but this was overall a good idea, and I'd say made the character more interesting. Now, I know Raimi's incarnation doesn't have the tongue, or say we, or portray the symbiote with much of a personality like the new one, but we literally just had two schizophrenic villains who heard voices in their head and said we, and they were played by far more talented actors. Do we really need to go through that for a third time? Yeah, I didn't think so.
But man and symbiote combined. This is a new race, a new species.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
Don't get me wrong, Venom in Spider-Man 3 isn't some unforgettably amazing villain. He's obviously no Doc Ock or Joker, not even close. But is he as bad as everyone's made him out to be for the past 11 years? Is he, well...
Like a bird in the wind.
No, of course not. And that's what upsets me. It seems like every critic, every movie buff, immediately writes off Spider-Man 3's Venom as some huge misfire with the likes of Poison Ivy, Electro, and quite frankly, Riot. People seem to forget or possibly ignore the better qualities of the old on-screen Venom, but clearly he was more than just a turd in the wind. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to please leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. See you next time.